files in your asset catalog, and the localized one's floating around loose. So I'm very excited to announce that starting now, you can localize images directly in your asset catalog. This means you can now localize your image sets, watch complications, Apple TV image stacks, sprite atlases, Game Center dashboards and leaderboards, as well as the new symbol sets. So let's take a look at how you do that. In the Asset Catalog editor, when you select a supported type, in the Attribute Inspector, you'll now find a Localize button. Click that, and we add the localizable attribute to the contents.json for that asset. You're ready to export an Xcode localization catalog. But say that you're multilingual and doing some of the localization work yourself, or maybe you're moving already localized images into the asset catalog. Well, when you click that button, it's going to reveal checkboxes with all of the localizations already in your project. Check any of those, and it will create the wells in the Asset Catalog editor, so you can drag in the localized images like you would any other asset. Now, what about those new symbols? Well, SF system symbols are localized for you. You don't need to do any extra work. Custom symbols can also be localized. You can either set the directionality, if you just need them to flip for right to left languages like Arabic and Hebrew, or you can do a full localization cycle in the same workflow as images. You'll find the same localized button in the Attribute Inspector. For more on symbols, please check out the session introducing SF symbols later today. And with that, I'd like to show you all this live in a demo. Now, you may have noticed in Kulpreet's demo that we had not localized the rest of these images, so I'm going to do that now. If I go into Xcode, I can go to my asset catalog, and let's fix up this nice yoga image. It's a very nice yoga retreat on the moon where you can feel lighter mentally and physically. So I just go over to the Attribute Inspector, click Localize, save, and that one's ready to go. I've already done this for my other vacation packages. But I have one image that's already localized that I want to move into my asset catalog to take advantage of all the great features of asset catalogs, like being able to specify a different appearance for dark mode. This is super easy. I just grab my old image and drag into the asset catalog. Xcode has created a new image set with the same name as my old resource. So I don't even need to go make a change in my storyboard. It'll just work. Now, I want to bring my localizations along too, so I click Localize, check off the existing language, and I'll drag that one into place, and save. Now I can just delete the old one from my project and on disk. OK. So everything's ready. I can now export an Xcode localization catalog. This is the same workflow as Xcode 10. I select the project, go to Editor, Export for Localization. And let's just do French for now. I don't need the rest of these. OK, export. Let's see what we got. OK, here is my Xcode localization catalog, and I can just send this off to my localizers. And now if I'm a localizer, I pop this open, and I know I can dive right into localized contents and get to work. So what do we got here? OK, here's the xlif. I know what to do with that. I know it has all the strings for the project. But what else is here? OK, we have an asset catalog. And this is a fully formed asset catalog. I could go drag this into another Xcode project and use it. But this one has been filtered down to only what the localizer cares about. So it's only the localizable content, and only for this locale. Now, in this case, we don't have any French images yet. So my yoga one here is just a copy of the English. This is for the convenience of the localizer. They can just jump in, start editing. Save time. I've had some localizers do exactly that for me. So let's see what they sent back. Just go open the catalog in my favorite localization tool here. And we can see, side by side, the English and French versions of all images. There's yoga. Yep. OK, let's import this into the project. Go back to Xcode. Again, same workflow as Xcode 10. Select the project, go to Editor, import localizations, select that finished Xcode localization catalog, and click Import. Great. So now if I go back to my asset catalog, I can see I now have 2 versions of my image in here, all in one place. But it's kind of small, so let's run the app again so we can see that a little bigger. So this time, when we go back to the app, we should see all of our vacation packages now with the French titles. There we go. Beautiful. OK, let's go back to the slides. So we just saw some of the enhancements to the localization tooling in Xcode. Export and import of interface builder files is now a lot faster. There's a new string stick rule for device-specific strings. Settings bundle is now easy to localize. And symbols and images are localizable in asset catalogs. Now, of course, once you've localized your app, you're going to want to test all of those localizations. And we've made that easier, too. And I'd like to call up Arthur to tell you all about it.
Thanks, Vivian. Now, let's take a look at how you can take advantage of UI testing for localization. Testing is a significant part of any development cycle. It takes time and resources, but it's very important to help catch regressions as you add new features and detect bugs before you release your product to your customers. If your app supports more than one language, you will have to test for language-specific issues. Clipped strings, truncated content, overlapping layouts, or even issues specific to right-to-left languages, such as Hebrew or Arabic. Now, if you want to test for every device you support, in every language you support, your test matrix can rapidly explode. You can easily end up with thousands of different scenarios. And that will make it really difficult for your testers to cover all these scenarios manually. So it's even more important to include tests in your project to help reduce manual workload for your QA. In Xcode 11, we made it easier for you to cover all these tests automatically with test plans. Test plan is a very easy way to run the same tests multiple times using different configurations. I'm not going to go too much into details about test plans today, so please check out the Testing in Xcode session on Thursday morning to learn more about it. What we will be covering is how you can use test plans in your localization workflow. So first, we will see how you can make sure that your tests are localization friendly. Then, we'll talk about how you can use test plans to generate localized screenshots. And finally, we'll go over some of the many use cases for those screenshots, because they are not only good for testing. First, let's see how we can make sure that your tests can work in every language you run them in. To do so, you should rely on accessibility identifiers. These identifiers are unique, stable, and will guarantee that your tests can run in any language. You can easily set them up, setting the property of the same name in code. Or if you're using Interface Builder to create your UI element, you can define them right there in the Identity Inspector. And that's all it takes. So now that your tests are localization friendly, let's see how we can use them to generate localized screenshots. As I mentioned earlier, in your test plan, you can create multiple configurations. In each of these configurations, you can set a different language and a different region to run your test in. Then, by simply turning on the localization screenshots option in the UI testing section, your screenshots will be persisted. And there is so much you can do with them. We also made this option available in the scheme editor that you already know and use in case you haven't migrated to test plans yet. And now that your tests are set up to capture localized screenshots, let's see what we can do with them. They're actually a great marketing